Good morning. My name is Debbie Adams, and I'd like to welcome you to the THI Perfusion Conference 2020. Unfortunately, we can't all meet together in person, but I trust that you will find the next few days enjoyable, some moments for education and learning, others for fellowship, celebration, and reflection. I thank you all for taking time to attend the conference, and I hope that you all continue to stay safe. A few weeks ago, I was in Dr. Fraser's office discussing the history of the Texas Heart Institute. And he pulled a paper out from his pile of papers that he has on his desk and handed it to me and said, "You need to read this, Deb." It was a historical article from the 1950s that Dr. Cooley had written in collaboration with Dr. DeBakey and others that practiced at the Methodist Hospital, St. Luke's, and Baylor College of Medicine, about the mechanical heart-lung machine for temporary cardiopulmonary bypass. In the paper, Dr. Cooley wrote about the research of Gibbon and the development of the pump oxygenator from the 1930s to the 50s. The paper also discussed Lilly High and the use of cross-circulation for perfusion in 32 patients, but it wasn't really that successful. Of course, then in the 50s, Kirkland develops the mechanical support and wrote about the support for 30 patients. But Dr. Fraser pointed out that without the talent of a surgeon like Dr. Cooley, our profession might have not come to fruition, because Dr. Cooley was fast and he could get patients on and off the heart-lung machine very quickly. And so the combination of the development of the bubble oxygenator in combination with a gifted surgeon like Dr. Cooley, pump techs or perfusion technologists came to being. The paper talked about 95 patients that Dr. Cooley and his associates had used cardiopulmonary bypass or pump cases. In the slide, you'll see the simple oxygenator, the bubble oxygenator that was used, showing the column of blood that bubbles through oxygen being bubbled in, filtered out, and then returned to the patient. A simple circuit of cannulation in the right atrium with a cannula going back into the femoral artery and cardioplegia being injected into the ascending aorta. A few years later, in 1962, Dr. Denton Cooley founded the Texas Heart Institute, a nonprofit organization dedicated to reducing the devastating toll of cardiovascular disease through innovative progressive programs in research, education, and improving patient care. Some 10 years later, Dr. Cooley, who was an advocate for perfusion and knew that there needed to be a development of a profession, recruited Charlie Reed from The Ohio State and established the Texas Heart School of Perfusion. The mission of the school at the Texas Heart Institute is in line with the mission of THI, and our mission is to promote excellence in perfusion education by training knowledgeable, skilled, and professional clinical perfusionists. In 1977, Dr. Cooley, his surgical associates of Texas, and the CVOR team and the pump team performed 4,000 pump cases. That is just mind-boggling to me that from the time 20 years prior, they talked about 95 cases, that now 4,000 pump cases have been performed at THI. In 1990, 75,000 cases. And this is a picture of Dr. Cooley with the perfusionist that pumped the 75,000th case, Sal Grecho, and in OR1 with the team. So amazing. In 2001, THI had performed 100,000 pump cases. Today, the number of pump cases performed at CHI St. Luke's and the Texas Heart Institute is over 120,000 procedures, as well over 1,200 heart transplants and over 1,000 LVADs, most of which implanted by Dr. Bud Fraser, who has implanted more left ventricular assist devices than anyone else in the world and helped develop and research all of them. We are also so fortunate that Dr. Fraser is an advocate for our perfusion education program, and he also continues to inspire, innovate, and research for the next first in transplantation and mechanical assist. You don't want to miss his presentation, which is later today. So the evolution of our perfusion technology as a profession, from pump tech to perfusion technology, we've come a long way. We have challenges for the journey ahead. Cardiac disease remains the #1 cause of death globally, and why the Texas Heart Institute continues the mission of its founder, Dr. Cooley, to reduce the development and the toll of cardiovascular diseases on people everywhere. So it's very fascinating that we've come from that bubble oxygenator, that Travenol bag, and where they pump 4,000 cases, to the technology that we have available today. Membrane oxygenators, coded circuits, filtration, inline monitoring, chartless monitors, all of which to help improve patient care and patient safety. As we continue our journey as perfusion technologists to strive to be the best that we can be, we face challenges, and the effect of the COVID-19 pandemic on perfusion education is another challenge we face. The impact for the May and June graduates required clinical case requirements to sit for their boards and to graduate, impacted those students, given the suspension of clinical rotations in March and April of this year. Universities closed programs all across the country, and that included perfusion education programs. As well, there was mandatory social distancing, which meant that perfusion classes couldn't happen. We couldn't have students all together in a classroom. So this gave us some challenges that we had to face as program directors to continue perfusion education in spite of COVID. So the effect of COVID-19 pandemic on perfusion education, I see it as a challenge created an opportunity for us as educators. I call it a CCP moment. And as Dr. Cooley taught us, to modify, simplify, and apply. So the C for our COVID-19 moment is creating creative teaching methods. Other programs already had distance learning tools available, and THI had to quickly modify our program to incorporate online Zoom classes and online testing into our teaching model. We didn't have this prior to the COVID-19 pandemic, and we had to quickly develop this. As well, we had to modify how we scheduled students instead of to respect the social distancing. So we had to make sure that students flexed in on A and B days. So they would alternate which days they would come to clinic. We were very fortunate that our clinical affiliate continued to allow our students to come to school and participate in their clinical site rotations. Other programs didn't have that luxury. And so those programs had to develop online simulation tools. You can't simulate from home on a high fidelity simulator. So other programs got very creative and are utilizing online models. As well, unable to complete pediatric observations, other programs had to use video sources in order to complete those requirements. The other C in our COVID challenge that became opportunity was the collaboration and cooperation of the perfusion community. The program directors share ideas for alternative teaching methods, and those program directors that had those methods shared those with those that did not. The other program directors offered assistance in how we can expand clinical affiliations, how we can develop teaching models. I give it to the leadership of the PPDC for bringing the group together so that we were all collectively working towards one goal, and that's to teach perfusion students to be knowledgeable, skilled clinicians to take care of patients. The other collaboration and cooperation from COVID was the Joint Perfusion Task Force that was organized by our professional organizations, perfusion service groups, professional organizations, the Academy, the AMSEC, the American Board, European societies, all came together to collaborate on developing best practices for perfusion to serve COVID-19 patients. Those organizations offered support for this THI conference with wide participation from everyone, and for that I'm very grateful. Our THI partners here at St. Luke's THI also have supported and have volunteered to participate in the conference. This conference wouldn't have happened with our THI partners who support perfusion education. I do want to thank my good friend and colleague, Ann Gretcho, because without her throwing that pebble in the water to reach out to the president of the Academy, Bill Riley, who then contacted the president-elect of AMSEC, Tammy Rosenthal, about helping with this conference. I don't think we would have been able to bring the agenda and the program together. So I thank you all for participating and supporting perfusion education and supporting this conference. So I just want to say thank you to our perfusion community partners, all of you, and thank you all for so quickly saying, yes, I'm in. Also want to thank all of our sponsors who have added value to our program with giving teaching material about their innovative products, as well as offering sponsorship to the program. And of course, I need to acknowledge and thank the THI partners, most especially Carrie Sprung and her team, David Zamora, Ann Gracho, Kathy Kibler, who have helped plan this conference, and I couldn't have done it without all of you. The last part of our COVID-19 learning experience is the P. And the P is for patience, our own personal patience, and our peace. The COVID-19 pandemic has reinforced that we are stewards and we're servants to our patients. When I talk to all the students about, do you want to come back to the clinic, that COVID's not going away, every single student said, yes, Miss Deb, we want to be in the clinic. We want to be perfusionists. We are committed to our profession. We're willingly and selflessly wanting to serve our patients, and we want to be there with our clinical instructors. As well, some of them said, you know, Miss Deb, I understand why you tell us to wash our hands. We understand why proper PPE is protecting our patients and protecting ourselves. The other part of the P is patience for self. It's a very stressful time, and it's not going away anytime soon. So be patient with yourself, and be kind to each other. A challenge I find for myself is finding moments of peace in all of this. And in this storm, finding a moment where I can be peaceful and mindful. And so I want to begin the conference with a mindful meditation so that we can all have a moment of peace. And then we can have a moment for fun and for fellowship and for learning. Thank you all for attending, and I look forward to the next couple of days. Peace.